It is only Wednesday, but it has already been a hell of a week for Jalen Ramsey and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go back to Sunday. It all started then. Ramsey and head coach Doug Marrone were up in each other's grills on the sideline. Then one day later, reports surfaced that Ramsey wanted out of Jacksonville and asked for a trade. Then yesterday, Jalen Ramsey met with the media. Now that in and of itself to me is interesting. Like, I don't know how many teams, upon learning that their best player wants out, would have that very same player up at the podium 24 hours later. But that's exactly what the Jags did, and that's exactly where Ramsey was. And he was doing some work now. He comes out and says, there's been a lot of talk in the media for the last couple of days, but you need to hear from me. And so now he's got my attention and my interest. But then he starts to talk about what he's talking about. And for a moment, there was a part of me that thought this is going to be a total letdown. There's going to be a whole lot of corporate talk and not a lot of Jalen Ramsey. You know, the Jalen Ramsey who came into the NFL as a rookie and less than a month into his career called Ravens wide receiver Steve Smith, quote, an old man. Quote, he's an old man acting like that.
You're an old man acting like that.
He's no man acting like that. Like Steve Smith was too old to be talking junk. Now, you know, this is maybe the biggest Steve Smith house ever. Steve Smith is one of my favorite athletes in any sport ever. But even I had to respect the audacity of the rookie calling out my guy, saying he came up to me after the game. You feel me? Y'all tell me who got in whose head. He's an old man acting like that.
You're an old man acting like that.
He's an old man acting like that. So, at that point, Jalen Ramsey gets my attention. And that, of course, was just the beginning. Then there was the time he called Josh Allen trash, quote. Then there was the time he called Matt Ryan, quote, overrated. Then there was the time he said that Joe Flacco, quote, sucks. Hey! That's the guy that I wanted to hear from yesterday. That's the guy that I was waiting on. And fortunately, that's the guy that we got. He said that if you think that trade request is only because he does not love the city of Jacksonville, you're wrong. He loves that city, and the city loves him back.
Just last night, I was in Roof Chris. They were showing hella love.
Quote, just last night, I was in Ruth's Chris, and they were showing hella love. Now we're getting somewhere. Of course, you were at Ruth's Chris, and of course, they were showing you hella love. You're Jalen Ramsey. They're not. He then capped off that opening statement. And by the way, that was the opening statement by saying that his focus was on getting ready for tomorrow night's game, being a good teammate, and, quote, just being Jalen, man, at the end of the day, end quote. And again, that was all in the opening statement. When the floor was then opened up to questions, he was careful and he was polite in sidestepping most of them, but you didn't really need to hear his answers to know how he feels. The guy wants to bleeping win, and he wants to get paid. He wants to win, and he wants to get paid, and neither of those things are happening. And it doesn't look like either of those things are going to happen. Of course the guy's pissed. He's playing for a team that has gone 3-13 in its last 16. And it's no secret that he's been frustrated with the contract situation for a while now. And not just his contractual situation, but others as well. He's been lobbying to get his teammates to get taken care of too. And that hasn't happened. So from where I'm sitting, granted 3,000 miles away, but from where I'm sitting, it does not seem to me that it's only about money. I mean, that's part of it, of course. But I'm guessing a big part of this is the fact that he knows he was a single play away from the Super Bowl in 2017. I mean, did that really happen? Were the Jaguars really ever that close? Were they really a play away? Or was that like a dream? Because everything that has happened since then has been a nightmare. They went from nearly beating the Pats in New England and reaching the Super Bowl to having a worse record than the Miami Dolphins in the past 16 games. And there have been multiple complaints about how that defense has been run. Then you've got that blow up with the head coach Doug Marrone during Sunday's game. So you know what it comes down to, right? It comes down to a simple choice. Marrone or Ramsey. Who is more valuable, Jalen Ramsey or Doug Marrone? The Pro Bowl corner or the sub-500 coach? The guy with a legitimate claim to being the best corner in the NFL or Doug Marrone? The guy who can transform an entire defense and a guy you build around, or Doug Marrone? The guy who is one of the most exciting and entertaining players in the game, or the guy who's had a losing record in both of his head coaching gigs? Listen, I'm never looking to get somebody fired. I'm never looking to take food off somebody's plate. But if the decision really is that, between Ramsey and Marrone, the answer better be Ramsey. Marrone's chased that playoff run with a 5-11 disaster and an 0-2 start. The team has imploded. This guy's going to have to turn into Vince Lombardi in the next 3 months to justify even bringing him back. And I know teams don't want to give players all that power. It scares the hell out of them. But if this really is a battle between Ramsey and Marrone, and you pick Marrone, then you've said that you don't care about winning. The question now is whether or not that legendary red ass in the front office is going to see it that way. Times are a-changin', Tommy. You better too. Jalen is the future, not Douglas.